Hello everyone. So welcome to Business Communication Lecture Series. This is lesson 3, listening and non-verbal communication. So in this lesson, we will be mostly focusing on developing your listening skills. And also we will be talking about what is non-verbal communication and how you can improve that as well. Okay, so at the end of this lesson, you will be able to demonstrate effective listening skills, explain how to decode hidden message sent by managers, identify body language of persons. Okay, so starting the lesson, we have effective listening skills. It is generally agreed that listening is not the same as hearing. Hearing is, of course, an essential part of listening. So to listen, first we need to hear that, right? However, listening goes beyond simply hearing and is described as an active process of taking in information, remembering and interpreting it, and then acting on it. So listening is a more complicated process than just hearing something. We hear a lot of things, but what we actively listen to, okay, if it's something that is important, we have to actively listen. We can't just keep daydreaming while in a business meeting or something if we really want to work on something, right? So listening takes more a lot of work than that. So we can define effective listening as a process by which information is heard, understood, interpreted, and then acted upon in a way that matches the speaker's intent. In other words, for listening to be effective, it must deliver the result that the speaker intended. Okay, so moving on, the Harrier model of effective listening. Okay, we all accept that listening goes beyond, far beyond simply hearing. However, what do we really mean by effective listening and what does it include? The acronym HARIER is sometimes used in academic texts to summarize a model of effective listening skills. This model was developed by Judy Brownell of Cornell University. Okay, there's a model called HARIER, which will tell you what you need to do in order for effective listening. It's an acronym made in the academic setting. The model describes 6 areas that are part of effective listening: hearing, understanding, remembering, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. Okay, so there are 6 components of effective listening according to Harrier model, which are these 6. So we are going to dig deeper into this while watching this video. Yes, wait. Okay.
Hello and welcome to our first of 2 video lectures about Chapter 7 in Corey Floyd's Interpersonal Communication. This week we're talking all about listening. This first video will cover the Harrier model of listening. No, Harrier isn't what you are when you're in a really big hurry. It's not like, I'm not just in a hurry, I'm in a hurrier. Okay, enough with the entirely hilarious jokes. In fact, Harrier is an acronym that stands for hearing, understanding, remembering, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. Ooh. This model describes the listening process. It's kind of a lot of steps when you think about it. I mean, you're listening to me right now. Aren't you just, hearing all of this and now you know what I'm saying? Well, not exactly. In order to listen, our brains have to do a lot more than just hear. But speaking of hearing, this is the first part of the Harrier model. H for hearing. Hearing is simply the physical process that happens when you hear something. Literally, sound waves travel through the air and enter your ear canal and BAM! You are hearing something. Well, you're actually hearing things all the time, and a lot of the time you're not really listening. Right now, take a pause and really listen. What do you hear? I hear the humming of my computer and the air conditioning in my office. But until I stopped to think about it, I wasn't aware that I was hearing that. So, we hear a lot, but we don't necessarily listen to it until we pay attention. But let's say we did hear something and now we want to move on with listening. Next, we have the U in Hurrier, which stands for understanding. This could be as simple as sharing a language. If you speak to me in Russian, I won't understand you. Oh, I might pick up some clues from your nonverbals, like your tone of voice or some body movement, but ultimately, I won't know what you're saying. So we need to understand each other. Sometimes understanding is also impeded by using words, jargon, or slang that our speaking partner might not understand. But let's say we do understand. Next is remembering, which is what the R stands for in Hurrier. If you instantly forget what somebody has said, you can't really engage in listening. So short-term memory is tough. As Floyd points out, there is research indicating that we only remember about 25% of what we hear, and we only remember about 20% accurately. This is a major problem when it comes to listening. Now, after we remember, we need to interpret, which is the I in Hurrier. Just because we understand something and remember something doesn't mean we have shared meaning yet. We have to figure out what the speaker is trying to convey. For example, if I said, "Wow, that's a great haircut," you can interpret that in two different ways. It could mean that I really think you have a great haircut. Or it could be sarcastic. You could have a horrible haircut. You have to use contextual clues, my tone of voice, my nonverbal gestures, to figure out what I'm saying. And even then, you might be wrong. Another part of interpreting is to signal to your speaking partner what your interpretation is. This is kind of a way to check to see if your interpretation is correct. The next letter in Hurrier is E for evaluating. So now you're evaluating what you've heard. You understand it, you remember it, you've interpreted it. Now you want to figure out if you think the person has said something true or false, or if it's something you agree with or not. You evaluate what they've said. You are evaluating me right now. I could be lying to you, but I'm not. Or am I? I'm not. Or am I? No, seriously, I'm not. Or I'm not. Oh, next we have R for responding. And this is where we give feedback. We actually did a little bit of this in interpreting when we signaled our interpretation back, but this feedback may be an actual verbal response, or it could be something nonverbal as well. The book discusses several ways to respond, including stonewalling, back-channeling, paraphrasing, empathizing, supporting, analyzing, and advising. I won't go over all of these individually, but definitely check those out on page 224. These will be very useful to you moving forward as a listener. So that's it. Hurrier is hearing, understanding, remembering, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. So, go forth and be an empowered listener. See you in the next video.
Stuck poop makes thin women.
Okay. So that was about Hurrier model of effective listening skills. So it's very easy to remember, right? Because they are all acronyms. And now we are going to do an actual listening task with you. I think this is the first time we are doing a listening task. Did we do any listening tasks? No, not that I can remember. Okay, so we are going to watch the video on a business meeting and answer the following questions. So the first question you get is, who was asked to take the minutes of the meeting? Second one, what was the first on the meeting agenda? Third one, name 3 benefits of ginger cola. Fourth one, what is the next topic in the meeting? So yeah, while watching this video, I want you to find answers for these questions. Okay, let's move to the video.
Hello, everyone. Tim and Melinda are running late, but we have a lot to get through, so we should get started. Jason, can you please take the minutes today?
Yes, of course, Tony.
No problem.
Thanks. Okay, let's get the ball rolling. First on the agenda today, Carrie, can you please give us an update on the marketing strategy for our new beverage, Ginger Cola?
Yes, Tony. Well, we have decided to pitch the new Ginger Cola as a health and energy drink.
Fantastic. I think this will be our next big hit. There is no reason that it shouldn't be a winner. It tastes great, it's healthy, and it has very low calories. It's perfect for working out. Let's make this the next Red Bull energy drink. Where are we with the advertising and promotion strategy?
We still have a few things to work out, but we are planning to have a power hitter from the Japan Baseball League as a celebrity endorsement. We still have to iron out some details, but we think he's a great fit.
Great idea. Well, let's set aside more time at the next meeting for a more in-depth look at what you have planned. Of course, that's really important. But we have a lot to cover in today's meeting.
Okay, Tony. I will be ready to present to everyone then.
Let's move on to the next topic. I have sent around an action list for each of you to take a look at. It includes a look at the following calls to action that we need to address for the upcoming charity walkathon. Let's take a few moments and go over everyone's role. This is extremely important for us. We need to give back to the community.
I couldn't agree more. This has been at the top of all our agendas, and we have come up with some pretty innovative ideas. Let me start things off, if that's okay with everyone else.
Okay, so you can take some time to finalize your answers, then we'll discuss. Okay, so let's check the answers. Who was asked to take the minutes of the meeting? Jason was asked to take the minutes. What was the first on the meeting agenda? The first on the meeting agenda was to get an update on the marketing strategy for the new beverage ginger cola. Name 3 benefits of ginger cola. Tastes great, low calories, perfect for working out. What is the next topic in the meeting? To go over everyone's role on upcoming charity walkathon. Okay, so those are the answers. So we are going to do a similar activity like that. Okay, so again, you have to watch the video and then we are going to write answers for that while watching the video. What is the meeting about? When is the product launch? What are the 2 people arguing about? By using which marketing strategy can they boost their image with young people? Why is it important to do market research? Okay, let's check the answers while watching the video.
Well, any ideas? How are we going to market this thing?
I have no idea. We really are in hot water. The product launch is in 2 weeks.
Maybe we could take out ads in the local newspaper. Lots of potential consumers read the newspaper, right?
Are you kidding me? No one reads the newspaper anymore. This is the age of smartphones and social networking. We're going to have to work a lot harder than that to generate some buzz. I think we should consider social media.
Social media? The best marketing campaigns are based on brand loyalty and word-of-mouth advertising. That formula is tried and true. Let's just put our ads in lots and lots of magazines and flyers.
Aren't you even listening? Those days are long gone. What we really need is to try our luck at viral marketing. Maybe we could make a really cool YouTube video that gets millions of views. Something like that could really boost our image with young people.
I guess times are changing. At my old company, we only talked about slogans and logos. The marketing world is changing so quickly.
Yes, it is a whole new world indeed. That's why we have to do lots of market research and pay close attention to what our target audience wants.
Hold on a minute. I have an amazing idea. An idea that will change the advertising world forever. Let's find a really famous person and pay them to say really nice things about our product.
You mean a celebrity endorsement? It's a great idea, but people have been doing it for years. It's a great way to get some great publicity, but it can get expensive. And where in the world are we going to find a celebrity to endorse this thing?
Okay, I'll give you some time to finalize your answers and then we'll have a discussion. the answers. So we have, what is the meeting about? The meeting is about how to market a business product. When is the product launch? The product launch is in 2 weeks. What are the two people arguing about? The two people are arguing about how to market the product. By using which marketing strategy can they boost their image with young people? By making a video and posting it on YouTube. Why is it important to do market research? Because the marketing world is changing quickly. Okay, so these are the answers. So we will be moving to the next part. So I just included these activities, these listening activities to practice effective listening with you guys. Okay, so this lesson you will be having several other, one more listening task as well. So it's mostly about listening skills. So moving on, we have body language. Body language refers to the nonverbal signals that we use to communicate. According to experts, these nonverbal signals make up a huge part of daily communication. From our facial expressions to our body movements, the things we don't say can still convey volumes of information. It has been suggested that body language may account for between 60 to 65% of all communication. Understand body language is important, but it is also essential to pay attention to other cues such as context. In many cases, you should look at its signals as a group rather than focusing on a single action. Think for a moment about how much a person is able to convey with just a facial expression. A smile can indicate approval of happiness. A frown can signal disapproval or unhappiness. In some cases, our facial expressions can reveal our true feelings about a particular situation. While you say that you are feeling fine, the look on your face may tell people otherwise. Okay, so our body language, our facial expressions, and our body movements can indicate and communicate as well. Okay, so moving on, the expression on a person's face can even help determine if we trust or believe what the individual is saying. One study found that the most trustworthy facial expression involved a slight raise of the eyebrows and a slight smile. This expression, the researchers suggested, conveys both friendliness and confidence. Facial expressions are also among the most universal forms of body language. The expressions used to convey fear, anger, sadness, and happiness are similar throughout the world. Researcher Paul Ekman has found support for the university for a variety of facial expression tied to particular emotions, including joy, anger, fear, surprise, and sadness. Research even suggests that we make judgments about people's intelligence based upon their facial and expressions. One study found that individuals who had narrower faces are more prominent and more prominent noses were more likely to be perceived as intelligent. People with smiling, joyful expressions were also judged as being more intelligent than those with angry expressions. Okay, so moving on. Posture. So posture is how we hold our bodies. Yes, how we hold our bodies can also serve as an important part of body language. The term posture refers to how we hold our bodies as well as the overall physical form of an individual. Posture can convey a wealth of information about how a person is feeling, as well as hints about personality characteristics, such as whether a person is confident, open, or submissive. Sitting up straight, for example, may indicate that a person is focused and paying attention to what's going on. Sitting with the body hunched forward, on the other hand, can imply that the person is bored and indifferent. When you're trying to read body language, try to notice some of the signals that a person's posture can send. Open posture involves keeping the trunk of the body open and exposes. This type of posture indicates friendliness, openness, and willingness. Closed posture involves hiding the trunk of the body open and hunching forward and keeping arms and legs crossed. This type of posture can be an indicator of hostility, unfriendliness, and anxiety. Okay, so moving on, we have another subtopic, personal space. These all come under nonverbal communication, okay? Have you ever heard someone refers to their need for personal space? Have you ever started to feel uncomfortable when someone stands just a little too close to you? The term proxemics, coined by anthropologist Edward T. Hall, refers to the distance between people as they interact. Just as body movements, facial expressions can communicate a great deal of nonverbal communication, so can the physical space between individuals. Okay, so the physical space between individuals can also be a communicating method. Okay, so you should need how to place yourself when you have a conversation with a person, depending on the relationship you have with that person. Okay, Hall described 4 levels of social distance that occur in different situations. Intimate distance 6 to 18 inches. This level of physical distance often indicates a closer relationship or greater comfort between individuals. It usually occurs during intimate contact such as hugging, whispering, or touching. Personal distance 1.5 to 4 feet. Physical distance at this level usually occurs between people who are family members or close friends. The closer the people can comfortably stand while interacting can be an indicator of the level of intimacy in their relationship. Social distance 4 to 12 feet. This level of physical distance is often used with individuals who are acquaintances. With someone you know fairly well, so as a co-worker you see several times a week, you might feel more comfortable interacting at a closer distance. In cases where you do not know the other person well, such as postal delivery driver you only see once a month, a distance of 10 to 12 feet may feel more comfortable. Public distance, 12 to 25 feet. Physical distance at this level is often used in public speaking situations. Talking in front of a class full of students or giving a presentation at work are good examples of such situations. It is also important to note that the level of personal distance that individuals need to feel comfortable can vary from culture to culture. One oft-cited example is the difference between people from Latin cultures from those from North America. People from Latin cultures tend to feel more comfortable standing closer to one another as they interact, while those from North America need more personal space. So this personal space idea can be different from culture to culture, but the main thing is how you and the others will feel comfortable due the distancing, how you will feel comfortable while having a conversation. So you can't go very close to someone you just met and have a conversation. The other person might feel very uncomfortable. So knowing these ethics. Yes, so moving on, we're going to watch this video.
People that are supremely confident, when they enter the room, they feel comfortable in that room. They don't hesitate to look around. Their gestures are smooth, but they're very broad. And that has to do with confidence. And for a lot of people, this is very difficult. I remember the great actress Helen Mirren saying, one of the most difficult things to learn as an actress is how to walk onto a scene. I've thought about that even in my career, how early on the difficulty of mastering that. How do you walk onto a crime scene? How do you walk into the public and demonstrate that I am confident and so forth? We can all work a little bit on our nonverbal so we come across as more confident. When we talk about confidence, it's so many things. It has to do with our posture, the way we present, how we look. Where's our chin? Where are the eyes looking and gazing? Our gestures are loose, but they're smoother. As we walk about, we walk as though we are on a mission. I'm walking out to shake your hand, or I'm walking out to a podium, or I'm walking to where I'm going to sit. So the less confident we are, the less eye contact we make. The less confident we are, the more reluctant we are to look about. You know, when I look at someone I admire, like Colin Powell, when he walks onto a stage, even before he speaks, he has total command of the room, and he does that because he brings two things into this equation. One is a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience, plus he has shaped and defined himself into a statesman.
We've got to think of America as a family, where every member of the family cares about every other member of the family.
I think sometimes people mistake machismo or theatrical displays of power as confidence. Confidence can be very quiet. Jane Goodall, here's this ethologist, very meek, very mild, and yet wherever she goes, she commands the room. One of the things you notice is they sort of have this command of themselves, and in doing so, that command transmits outward. The other thing that confident people realize is the temporal aspect of leadership. If you're in charge of time. I'm going to take my time to walk out. I'm going to take my time to answer your question. I will answer it in the pace, manner, and tone that I choose. And in doing that, we are demonstrating that we are confident and in control. Where do we get that confident voice? Where do we get those confident gestures? This is what's called socialization. We notice the principal who acts this way. We like this leader because of this or that trait. So I try to model their behaviors and say, this is a shortcut. And if I have to work on my vocabulary, that's what high status people do. If I have to change my gestures to fit in this society, and then that's what I'm going to have to do. That doesn't mean it changes me completely. It just means that this is what is required of me, and this is what I want to achieve at this moment in time. I think of Cary Grant. Here's an individual born in the UK, grew up very poor, and as he said in his biography, I became Cary Grant. I adopted all the behaviors that I saw from high status individuals.
Just think about that, but make up your mind.
And it is difficult to prescribe this, but one of the easiest things that we can do, you know, if you're a woman, maybe you want to model yourself on the actress Cate Blanchett or some other actor and say, you know, when they're being interviewed, how do they look? They look so confident. They look interesting. They have such a command presence. You know, we're not born this way. These are things that we have to develop and say, how do I want to be perceived? And what can I do to achieve that? Are there better behaviors that you can do? Here's a simple one. How many of you, somebody says, where'd they go? And you go like this. And as it turns out, this is one of the most hated signs around the world. And yet, if we just go like this, he went that way, we're already perceived differently. Little things. I tell the story often of when I first came into law enforcement. They said, well, you've got to get out there and make some arrests. And the first time I went out there and my voice just went really high. Stop, you're under arrest. That sounds horrible. And you have to work at having that command presence where you say, stop right there. Don't move. That's almost theatrical, yeah, but it's what is needed. So let's do this exercise. I want you to say no. Just go ahead, say it out loud. All right, now let's do it right. Say it as I say it. No. 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 Do you see the difference between the way you said it and this way? Did you notice that your voice kept getting deeper? But did you also notice that the fingers became wider and wider? The more confident you became, the wider your fingers were spreading. There's a big difference between saying no, stop, and going no, stop. This potentiates the message. But to get to this, we actually have to practice it. So let's do it again. No. Now go out there and teach your children how to do that.
I love sometimes selfies in the mirror.
One of my pet peeves is what we hear every day with what's called uptalk. Uptalk is where someone says something and then they end making it sound like a question mark. So it sounds like this. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation. My company has done research on this, and we've asked CEOs and we've asked executives, and some will say, well, I've gotten used to it and so forth. But when we ask them, does it really matter? They also, yeah, we'd rather not see it. I get pushback from people that say, well, this is just the way that I speak, and no doubt, but don't expect the same results.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills.
The cadence in our speech is extremely powerful for a couple of reasons. One, we know that when people machine gun a statement, when they talk very fast, we are less likely to listen to them over a long period of time. But when we talk in cadence, we are sort of held still, listening to what will come next. And I'll give you an example from that great speech Martin Luther King gave. As you notice with the cadence, I have a dream.
I have a dream.
And then he pauses. That one day. And then he goes on. And Churchill used the same thing. Churchill's notes literally would create spaces for how long he would pause.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent.
These pauses make people listen. And one of the things that we teach is if you want people to listen to you, use cadence to get their attention, hold their attention, but then look forward to what that next set of words will be. It lets them know at a subconscious level, this is the person in charge. And we know that they're in charge because they have temporal control over this. They're not in a hurry. So, a lot of times people say to me, well, does confidence look like, chest out, shoulders back, chin up? Yeah, that looks pretty good. But, a lot of times confidence is just sitting comfortably in a chair. And that may have more to do with how much space you control. It may have to do with the gestures that you use. You probably noticed that I use a lot of steepling. I tend to interlace my fingers and so forth. These are gestures that contribute to that communication that I'm trying to get across, that I am confident about what I'm talking about. So it's not just about puffing your chest out, or certainly not about talking louder or anything. It's about controlling my environment, but making sure that what I'm transmitting at all times is confidence. And that means I'm prepared, I'm ready to answer. I'm going to answer you now, I'm going to answer you effectively, and I'm going to make sure that you understand what I say said, I'm here to convey, I'm not here to convince. A lot of times people who are lacking confidence are trying to convince you of something. Hey, if I'm confident, I just say it once. It's this way and that's it. I convey the information rather than sit there and try to beat it into you by repeating it 10 different ways. Compare the gestures I'm about to do. It's about temporal movement, controlling time, so the person in charge has the time to look up at their own pace. The gestures are smooth. There's no hesitation. There's no quick movements. There's no jitteriness. There doesn't have to be. I'm in charge. When I feel less confident, I feel like I have to be in a hurry, that I've got to look up and I've got to answer right away. And there's a lot of preening behaviors, and these are detracting from me.
I was really shy a few years ago. Probably this is changing a little bit.
People are horrified to speak in public. I used to be horrified to speak in public. I still get nervous to speak in public. But here's some tricks I found that you might find useful. The first one is don't hesitate ever to say, you know what, this is scary. Be honest with yourself. This is unnatural. Number two, take refuge in knowing that if I sit down and study this material, I will know it better than my audience. The third thing I always do is I rehearse. It really helps so that the first time you hear it in a forum, it doesn't scare you. When it's time to do the presentation, one of the things I like to do is to warm up. I find a good solid wall and I will just lean into it like I'm holding this wall up, pressing against it just as if I were doing a push-up. And one of the things that does is it releases a lot of muscular tension. And because I'm doing it very wide, it makes me feel more powerful. And I need to walk on that stage as though it's mine with full confidence. It is only then that I look at my audience. And then I just take a second to get myself together and to begin. With practice, obviously, you're going to get better and better and better. Let's face it, people are not born confident. They're just not. We can become confident with the assistance of our parents who encourage us. We can become confident through our own achievements. We can become confident by going beyond our boundaries. But confidence is something that we can grow, we can nurture. I mean, I have seen people in wheelchairs that are supremely confident. I have seen elderly people in their 90s who are very confident. I've seen children who are holding a violin with such confidence. If you want to be confident, know your material. Know the information, hone that skill, work at it, have that mastery of things and of self, and that's how you will come across as confident, no matter what your station in life is.
Okay, now we have another listening activity to do. Watch the video on nonverbal communications and answer the given questions. First one, what are the three main rules of handshaking? How should you engage with a person when you are speaking with them? How should you engage with a person when you are listening to them? What are the 7 universal micro expressions that everyone has? Okay, let's watch this, and while watching it, you need to find the answers.
Hi, I'm Dr. York. Not that kind of doctor. I'm a doctor of communication. Did you know only 7% of communication is the words that we say. That means 93% of communication is nonverbal communication. For example, gestures mean a lot. The most open thing you can possibly do is show the palms of your hands. Now, speaking of hands, let's talk about handshakes. What do you need to give a really good handshake? Help! That's right, Sean. Help. A handshake says a lot about a person. Rule number 1, always stand up to shake someone's hand. Rule number 2, don't be a bone crusher. Rule number 3, don't be a weakling. Ugh. Also, gentlemen, please be sure to shake a woman's hand the same way you would shake a man's hand. So if you're someone fancy, like the president, and you take a number of pictures, make sure you're on the camera, the audience side's left side. So when you shake someone's hand, your hand is on top. It makes you look more powerful for those pictures. But you can't always be on that side. So if you are on the wrong side, there's some defensive measures, like this one, the wrap. Or a second defensive measure is you pull them toward yourself so no one's hand is on top. People like good-looking people, and clothes say a lot about a personality. For example, always wear traditional clothing. Blues, blacks, grays, even a pop of red are fantastic. Stay away from the neon green colors. For example, during a job interview, you'd want to stay away from a neon green tie because the interviewer would be paying more attention to your tie than what you have to say. Nonverbal communication can also show that we're listening. Isn't that right?
Absolutely, Dr. York. In fact,
Thank you. So if you are speaking to someone, if you're currently talking, you should be looking at the other person in the eye about 60 to 70% of the time. On the other hand, if you are listening to someone, increase that to about 90% of the time to show engagement, to show that you are listening. Also, be sure that you're not looking around the room looking to trade up in the conversation. Nonverbal communication can also help you detect lies. Look for things like too much eye contact, hiding behind barriers, or stiff body movements. But make sure you are getting a baseline for the individual, what they usually do, to make sure they are lying or there's just nervous energy. Actually, college students and police officers somewhat have the exact same ratio of detecting lies. So next time you are interrogating someone, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. As a professor of communication, I'm usually aware of my students' feelings. And there are 7 universal micro-expressions that everyone has, whether they're from St. Louis, Missouri, Tokyo, or Mongolia. And I'm about to show you all 7 of these expressions while doing something fun, messing with students. Class, I'd like to remind you that I've canceled the final exam. However, to make up for those missed points, we're going to have an exam today. Sean, thank you so much for joining us. Here's your surprise exam. And since Sean didn't make it a priority to be on time today, I'm doubling the points on this exam. And here's where it gets fun. I don't even like tuna. Yeah, those look like a big F. Here's a tip for interviewing on air or for a job interview. Have you ever played the lava game as a child? Pretend the back half of your chair is lava. This will force you to either sit up straight or lean forward looking engaged. My research shows that you can increase memory recall by 22% just through nonverbal communication. One of those steps, is getting rid of all the barriers. You don't need those anyway. Sorry, buddy. Would you believe me if I told you that you could increase your own confidence through nonverbal communication? Simply the Superman pose. So, if you do the Superman pose for just 2 minutes, your testosterone levels increase and your cortisol levels decrease, which manages stress. Everyone do the Superman pose. So remember, the podium is kryptonite. Do the Superman pose once a day and keep the kryptonite away. So as you can tell, communication is a powerful tool. It's not just what we say that's important. Everything from gestures to handshaking to micro expressions to lie detection to how we dress. Everything says something to everyone. You're speaking volumes to everyone around you, even when you don't say a word.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room.
Hi.
Okay, I'll give you some time to finalize your answers, then we'll discuss. Okay, so let's check the answers. What are the three main rules of handshaking? Always stand up to shake someone's hand. Don't be a bone crusher. That means don't shake really hard. Don't be a weakling, like don't be too mellow. How should you engage with a person when you are speaking with them? By looking at the other person's eye for 60 to 70% of the time. How should you engage with a person when you are listening to them? By increasing the eye contact to 90% of the time. What are the 7 universal micro expressions that everyone has? Happiness, surprise, fear, contempt, disgust, anger, sadness. Okay, so these are the answers. We will be watching some videos to improve your listening skills and also to get to know the vocabulary related to business meetings and stuff. Yes, give me a second. So this is a vocabulary related video, common expressions, business meetings, okay, English listening and speaking practice.
Do you need to attend business meetings and discussions? Then join me in this lesson to practice some common meeting expressions. Hello and welcome everyone, this is Minu at AngloLink. This is the 6th lesson in our series Listening and Speaking Practice. In this lesson, we're going to practice some expressions that are commonly used in business meetings. You must first watch the lesson for your listening and writing practice, and then watch it again for pronunciation and fluency practice. I will explain the method in more detail at the start of the lesson. After 2 or 3 repetitions of this lesson, you will have improved both your listening comprehension and your speaking skills at business meetings. So when you're ready, we can begin. Common business expressions in meetings and discussions. This is how I recommend you do this exercise. Listen to each sentence carefully. I say each sentence twice before you can see it. Pause the video and write down what you have heard. Start the video and check what you have written down before moving on to the next sentence. Once you have written all the sentences down, start the video again. This time, listen and repeat each sentence without reading your notes. Right then, let's begin our exercise. Number 1. Shall we get started? Shall we get started? Number 2. It's time we got down to business. It's time we got down to business. Number 3. First of all, I'd like to welcome our guest. First of all, I'd like to welcome our guest. Number 4. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Number 5. Has everyone read the minutes of the last meeting? Has everyone read the minutes of the last meeting? Number 6. There are some urgent points on today's agenda. There are some urgent points on today's agenda. Number 7. Why don't we deal with the urgent matters first? Why don't we deal with the urgent matters first? Number 8. We can then move on to the less pressing matters. We can then move on to the less pressing matters. Number 9. How does that sound to you? How does that sound to you? Number 10. I suggest we tackle point 5 first. I suggest we tackle point 5 first. Number 11. Does that meet with everyone's approval? Does that meet with everyone's approval? Number 12. Alternatively, we could proceed according to the agenda. Alternatively, we could proceed according to the agenda. Number 13. I have no objection to that. I have no objection to that. Number 14. That might be a better idea. That might be a better idea. Number 15. I'm happy either way. I'm happy either way. Number 16. I think we should stick to the agenda. I think we should stick to the agenda. And number 17. I'd rather we dropped the less urgent matters. I'd rather we dropped the less urgent matters. Number 18. What do you think of this project? What do you think of this project? Number 19. What are your feelings about this project? What are your feelings about this project? Number 20. Personally, I feel it's too much of a risk. Personally, I feel it's too much of a risk. Number 21. I believe the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. I believe the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. Number 22. I second that. I second that. Number 23. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Number 24. I'm afraid I have to disagree. I'm afraid I have to disagree. Number 25. I can't go along with that. I can't go along with that. Number 26. May I interrupt you there? May I interrupt you there? Number 27. Could I just come in here? Could I just come in here? Number 28. There must be an alternative. There must be an alternative. Number 29. I think you're missing the point. I think you're missing the point. Number 30. We seem to have got sidetracked. We seem to have got sidetracked. Number 31. Let's get back to the matter in hand. Let's get back to the matter in hand. Number 32. We must come to an agreement on this. We must come to an agreement on this. Number 33. Let's put this one to the vote. Let's put this one to the vote. Number 34. Raise your hand if you're in favor. Raise your hand if you're in favor. Number 35. Could all of those against raise their hands? Could all of those against raise their hands? Number 36. To sum up, the majority approve. To sum up, the majority approve. Number 37. In conclusion, we've decided to go ahead with it. In conclusion, we've decided to go ahead with it. Number 38. Is there any other business? Is there any other business? Number 39. We seem to have run out of time. We seem to have run out of time. Number 40. Let's wrap up then, shall we? Let's wrap up then, shall we? Right, that's the end of this exercise for business meetings and discussions. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. As you know, you can now go to our website, anglolink.com, for more exercises and lessons.
Okay, so that is it for today's lesson actually. So this was about nonverbal communication and listening, effective listening skills. This is lesson 3, but we completed now. It's listening and nonverbal communication. So we went through different subtopics. We went through effective listening skills, and also we went through the Harrier method model for effective listening skills. And then again, we went to nonverbal communication and talked about body language, posture, personal space, and we learned more about nonverbal communication by watching this video. Okay, so that's it for this lesson. So one thing you can do is practice listening more, and also, yes, I have uploaded more notes for the LMS page, and also this worksheet is available there with the answer key. So you can go through that as well. So yes, that will be the end of this session. I hope you all understood the lesson. So see you in the next lesson.